Why would the prehistoric period have been a nightmare for humans? If you're alive and watching this video, one thing is for sure: a succession of your ancestors made it through the treacherous landscapes of prehistory. That's a huge deal, but many modern people are unaware of how fortunate they are to be here today. Yet you are, because our prehistoric forebears often had to pay a steep price for survival. From ever-changing climates and treacherous natural terrains to disease and the ever-looming threats of starvation and dehydration, the world before history was teeming with danger. Perhaps the most dangerous of all was the cast of wild animals that early humans around the world shared ecosystems with. From giant beasts that were dangerous to hunt, to fearsome predators that competed with humans for food and occasionally added them to the menu, the world was truly wild and beyond our control back then. Today's video is a window into human life before we had sprawling cities, firearms, and bulldozers, a time when we were truly one with nature and subject to its unpredictable whims on a daily basis. Without further ado, let's step into the time machine. A time before time. Prehistory is, technically speaking, the period of time spanning from the emergence of early tool-using hominins to the dawn of writing. So, from 3.3 million years to about 5,200 years ago. This means prehistory includes the Stone, Chalcolithic, Bronze, and Iron Ages. During this period, the Homo genus emerged in Africa, having evolved from Australopithecus. The first species of the genus were Homo habilis and Homo rudolfensis, who had come on the scene by 2.8 million years ago. A little later, about 2 million years ago, Homo erectus rose up and began moving north into Eurasia. Modern humans, or Homo sapiens, emerged around 300,000 years ago, having evolved from Homo erectus descendants that remained in Africa. Modern humans lived alongside archaic Homo groups, especially after also migrating to Eurasia, where a lot of interbreeding took place. Naturally, regardless of the exact species, survival was the name of the game. And it didn't come easy, because early and archaic humans didn't have much of the comforts we enjoy today. Settlements, for instance, were very basic, with early humans dwelling in rudimentary structures like tents and simple huts, or simply living outside 24/7. This meant greater exposure to the elements, raids from other human groups, and animal attack. The elements, for instance, included high temperatures and harsh rainfall, depending on the location, of course. You also can't forget the ice ages that took up most of the last 3 million years, characterized by bitter cold and darkness. Another part of prehistory that is not talked about enough is the threats humans posed to each other. Archaic Homo groups often clashed with each other and later with modern humans. With limited resources and almost no agriculture, some bands or tribes would have resorted to raiding other human camps for food, pelts, women, and anything else they would have fancied. Territorialism would also have been part of life, as stronger tribes would seek to take and hold lands with the best resources like hunting grounds, springs, and caves. The need to hunt also meant men had to leave their families behind for extended periods, which made camps even more vulnerable to raids. Then we have animal attacks. Back then, humans were very much in the heart of the wild wherever they dwelled, and were not always at the top of the food chain. Marauding predators like big cats, wolves, and bears could pop out of the woods at any time and wreak havoc on human camps, attacking livestock or even children and adults. Lookouts were common, and taking turns standing guard while others slept was common practice. Some of the more dangerous animals early humans had to worry about were Arctodus, giant short-faced bears, saber-toothed smilodon cats, and American lions. Even mega-herbivores like rogue Colombian mammoths could cause devastating damage to human camps. Away from the primitive and vulnerable settlements, prehistoric humans were almost always in a state of food insecurity. With no agriculture until about 12,000 years ago, humans were highly dependent on their natural surroundings for food. Essentially, we were at the mercy of the seasonality of certain plant-based foods and our ability to catch wild game. and barring the odd lucky break, wild game was almost always difficult to catch. For starters, there was the fact that wild animals are generally elusive. This forced humans to develop and practice tracking skills. Hunts often involved hiking for miles and miles, and even then, nothing was guaranteed. Some animals, like antelope, horses, and deer, were fast and agile, which means humans had to be very quick and coordinated to stand a chance of killing them. One mistake or premature move would spook the animals and undo hours or days of tracking. Then there were the animals that were generally dangerous to hunt. One group of animals that stands out in this regard was prehistoric proboscideans, like mammoths, mastodons, and elephants. These giants never went down without a fight, and they boasted formidable sizes and weapons like trunks, tusks, and stomping front legs. The Columbian mammoth, which was nearly 20 to 30% bigger than woolly mammoths and some modern elephants, was an especially dangerous quarry in North America. These massive beasts were often accompanied by a herd, which made them even more perilous. They were very protective of their vulnerable calves, which were a common target for both human and animal predators. Oftentimes, it required 20 or more people to have a prayer of isolating and killing an adult mammoth, and injuries and deaths were certainly part and parcel of such hunts. Another risky prey animal was the giant bison latifrons, also from North America. These large bovines weighed as much as 4,500 pounds and charged head first with horns 84 inches long, more than twice the length of modern bison horns. Getting impaled by a giant bison was as sure a death sentence as any in those times. In Eurasia, early men battled with woolly rhinoceroses. These fuzzy tanks were tough, with several key adaptations that allowed them to thrive in the freezing mammoth steppes of Eastern Europe and Central Asia. These woolly rhinos could grow to over 5 feet in shoulder height and weighed around 2 tons. At the front of that formidable bulk were 2 horns, including one that could reach 4.4 feet in length, more than enough to make a human kebab. Despite the risk and difficulties, humans eventually became experts at hunting these elusive or dangerous animals, using a combination of intelligence, weapons, and traps. Early humans were also incredibly fit and strong, a necessity if you planned on battling mammoths and giant rhinos. Many prehistoric megafauna are believed to have gone extinct because of how good we got at hunting them. Of course, making a kill in prehistoric times was only part of the battle. The next part was securing and defending kills from rival hunting bands and wild animals looking to scavenge. Beasts like the American lion or smilodon were huge threats, especially if they moved around in groups like some scientists believe. Like most prehistoric animals, these big cats were larger and more robust than their modern kin, and they knew how to use that power. Without enough numbers or weapons to fight them off, humans would have had to surrender their hard-earned kills or risk becoming an appetizer for the predators. These days, with all our cities and guns and other developments, we still fall victim to big cats. They kill 500 humans each year, which is about 1.4 people per day. So it's only logical to think that larger, stronger cats were an even bigger menace to human groups who lived in the wild full-time. Big cats are especially dangerous to humans because of how sneaky, athletic, and ruthless they are. You never knew if a saber-toothed cat the size of a baby elephant was lurking around a bend, or if a lion was hiding in hip-height grass. And despite the relative strength of our prehistoric ancestors, they were no match for the sheer weight and power of these super felines, or their claws and teeth. Of course, it wasn't just big cats on the prowl for easy pickings. Short-faced bears, which could reach weights beyond 2,000 pounds, were everywhere in the Americas. Arctodus simus, better known as the giant North American short-faced bear, was an opportunistic omnivore like few others. It could look an adult man in the eye while on all fours and stand up to 11 feet on its hind legs. Naturally, they were extremely dangerous if they caught you unawares, unarmed, or undermanned. The good thing is that they were solitary animals that could be scared off or killed if you had the numbers. In Asia and Europe, the notorious cave hyena was the bane of early man. Not only was it a direct threat to humans, but it also insisted on being an uninvited guest at human kills. Cave hyenas were significantly bigger than modern spotted hyenas, and they boasted even greater bite force. Little is known about its sociability, but if it did form sizable packs, it would have been a real menace. One group that certainly formed packs was the wild canids. From dire wolves in the Americas to gray wolves in Europe, humans were at war with dog-like ancestors from the very beginning. Wolves were much smaller than bears, hyenas, and the biggest cats, but their numbers and tenacity made them a serious competitor to humans, especially in lean times. However, between 40,000 and 15,000 years ago, the continued proximity to canids would lead to some of them being domesticated, which eventually gave rise to man's best friend. Dogs were a huge game changer for humans. For starters, they used their senses and alertness to guard human settlements. They lent us their athleticism and tracking skills during hunts, making us much more efficient and effective hunters. With their aggression, we could also turn the tables on some of the pesky predators around us and make our settlements and families a little safer. Yet the prehistoric world was never truly safe. There were a bunch of other animals that posed various risks to early humans just by proximity. Giants like the ground sloth Megatherium were more than capable of killing people who got too close or who threatened them. In Australia, early humans lived alongside Megalania, a giant lizard twice the size of the fearsome Komodo dragon, which is a proven danger to humans. Megalania would have been at the very least a food competitor of humans, and at the very worst an active predator of ours. And let's not even get started on what lurked in the waters. Crocodilians like alligators, true crocodiles, and the now extinct quincana were major dangers that claimed more than their fair share of human lives and body parts. The quincana, which went extinct about 10,000 years after humans arrived in Australia, was a huge 23-foot-long reptile armed with ruthless, serrated teeth made for cutting flesh. Ultimately, the fact that we made it through a time and place where everything and everyone wanted to kill us speaks volumes about human intelligence, grit, and our sheer will to live.